Good morning, everyone. It is good to see you and a joy and a blessing to be with you all. Welcome to Unity of Phoenix. Welcome to our Sunday Soul Celebration. We're so thrilled that you're here, and we have a very wonderful service prepared for you. Glad you're here today. Welcome, everyone.
So now's that time in our service for a time of prayer and meditation. So surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Because where two or more gather together under the banner of God's name and God's grace, there is that presence there. That presence that generates love, that presence that generates acceptance, that presence that generates a deeper appreciation for ourselves and for the universal idea of life in all of its many and varied forms. So as we take a few moments this morning to enter into a quiet place, I just want to invite you to focus on the idea of love. On the idea of connection. The idea of universalism. The idea of appreciation of self and all others. So if you will, just take a deep breath. Sit back in your seat and get comfortable as you can. Close your eyes if that seems appropriate. Just shut out any outer distractions. And perhaps most importantly, just slow your mind down. One of the profoundest scriptures in the New Testament is the one that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I amness. That presence, that power that is inherent within you and within all people. Be still and connect with that divine spirit. That spirit that heals, that transforms, that brings about a deeper and a broader understanding of life, of purpose, of meaning, be still. So as we think about all the people whose lives have been touched by senseless and meaningless violence, we open our hearts to God's divine love and presence and allow that love to emanate out into our community and into our world. We give thanks for that healing energy in the name and through the nature of the living Christ. And so it is. Amen.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everyone that tunes in and watches us online. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So how many people here feel like you're always busy and you never have enough time to do everything you need to do? Anybody ever like that crazy busy? How many people here feel like you work too hard, too much, too long? Too much work? How many people wish your life was easier and you didn't have to work so hard? All right. Probably the most hands on that one. You know, every one of us says we wish our life was easier, we think we work too much, we wish we didn't have to work so hard. We say it, we wish it, we dream it, and yet we still keep working hard. Yes, we still keep working too much. Yes, we still keep working long, long hours. And the question is, if we already know we're working too much, we're working too hard, working too long, why do we keep doing it? And is that because we believe we have to. But even when we don't have to, we still believe we have to. Another reason is that we think the best way and the only way for life to get better is to work harder. If life isn't going well, work harder. And then one of the other things is I think that our work ethic is so deeply ingrained in us, we can't think of any other way to live. Like we've got lines like, we got to put your nose to the grindstone, work your fingers to the bone, put the pedal to the metal. I mean, it's almost a pride thing of dedication and commitment to stay late from work, and then, of course, the all-nighter is the ultimate level of commitment. You know, we seem that is a smart, healthy thing for us to do. You know, I was reading some articles and they talked about how that we're getting a little out of control in overwork in our culture. And we even have something called the cult of productivity, where we feel obsessed to get things done and we feel we absolutely need to always be doing something and to keep achieving and keep producing. You know, it reminds me of this American investment banker that was on a small pier in a coastal Mexican village when this small boat came, and there was a guy in there and he had some beautiful yellowfin tuna, and the American said to him, "Man, I love the quality of those fish." He said, they're just fabulous. He said, "How long did it take you to catch them?" He said, "Just a little bit." She said, "Well, why don't you stay out longer and catch even more fish?" He said, "Well, I got enough fish just to feed my family's immediate needs." And he said, "So if it only takes you a little time, what do you do with the rest of your time?" He says, "Well, I sleep late, I fish a little, I play with my children, I take a siesta with my wife Maria, and in the evening I stroll through the village, sip some wine, and play music with my amigos." He said, "I got a fun life." The American scoffed and said, "Look, I've got a Harvard business degree and I can help you. You should spend more time fishing, and with the more money you get from the fishing, you can get another boat. And then with another boat, getting another boat, you could get another boat, and next thing you know, you'll have a fleet of fishing boats. And instead of selling your catch to the middleman, you can sell directly to the processor, and eventually you can open your own cannery. You'll control production, processing, and distribution. But then you'll need to go from this little village to Mexico City, and then eventually you have to go to LA, and then eventually you'll have to end up in New York, and you'll be running this entire incredible empire that'll be growing for you." The Mexican fisherman said, "Well, how long will that take?" And the American said, "Well, about 15 to 20 years. And he says, "Then what?" He said, "Then that's the best part. When the time is right, you can announce your IPO and sell your company stocks, and you will become rich. In fact, you'll make millions and millions." And the guy said, "Millions and millions?" And he said, "Then what?" He said, "Well, then you can retire, move to a small coastal village where you'll sleep all day, fish." So that is a perfect example of the cult of productivity. We literally believe that we have to always be producing. We always have to keep going. You know, I read some articles this week, and it said that Americans don't have to work as hard as we do, but we prefer to. that we have got stuck into a habit, into a pattern, and into a mindset where working hard all the time has become our norm and our comfort zone. That we absolutely believe it is the only way for us to live our lives is to continue to be productive constantly. And what it said is, unfortunately, that actually robs us of our joy. It actually takes a toll on our health. And we're actually eventually not as productive and effective. And it's actually moving us away from the very life that we're actually seeking and chasing. You know, in her book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, Bronnie Wade was interviewing and taking care of a 90-year-old man that was dying. And they always look back. Everybody looks back on their life and shares. His number one regret was, he said, "I wish I didn't work so hard. I was such a stupid fool." This man had a wife named Margaret, and he had 5 kids, and he worked so hard to produce a good life for them that he didn't know all his kids that well. And then when he came, to a time in his 50s when they had enough money, the kids had moved out, he kept saying he was going to retire, but he just wouldn't retire. His wife kept asking him to retire. He wouldn't retire. Finally, he said, after several years, says, "Okay, honey, I'm going to retire." She got so excited, and he said, "Yeah, after just one more year." And she said, "Well, I've waited for 15 years for you to retire, so I guess I can do one more." Unfortunately, 4 months later, she got diagnosed with a terminal illness, and she died 3 months before he retired. And he had deep, deep regrets about it, and he said this. He said, "The chase for more and the need to be recognized through achievement and belongings can hinder what is real in life for us, like spending time with our loved ones and doing things that we really enjoy." He said, "There's nothing wrong with loving your work, but there's a lot more to life." He realized that he loved the chase. He loved the status. He loved the identity. He loved working. He loved what it did and who he felt he was. But he realized that he got so caught in that pattern of needing to work that he missed out on the most important things in his life. He missed out on love. He missed on connection. He missed out on feeling a sense of joy. You know what's so funny? We keep saying that we want to work less, we want to slow down, and yet we don't ever do it. We keep saying, "Oh, one day I'll do it, one day I'll do it," and his story shows that sometimes that one day never actually comes. And he said he realized in his old age that one thing could have changed his life, one thing that would have transformed it. And you know what it was? Balance. Sometimes it sounds so wimpy, balance, but balance is one of the most powerful things that can bring us to a level of peace, a level of joy, of not making one more valuable than the other, but finding a way how we can get the best of both. He said the most important thing for all of us is to not create a life that we will regret that we worked too much. How many people here have ever had a challenge balancing all the responsibilities in your life? So I ask you, where in your life are you a bit out of balance? Where in your life have you put so much effort in one area that you've neglected an important area, or avoided it, or denied it? Where in your life right now is calling you to give more time, more attention, and more love to? What will you regret in your life if you keep on the same trajectory of level of work that you're doing? What will you regret? And if you don't change your pattern, what is it that you feel that you might miss out on? Today we're in the second week of our 5-week series, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And I really love this book. This lady, Bronnie Wade, worked as a caregiver and took care of a lot of people in their last 3 to 12 weeks. And she became friends with them, and they did a lot of sharing. And she did the top 5 regrets that they have. 3 million people looked at her blog in the first year. 3 million. That's how much this is of interest to all of us. And I love that we're looking at the regrets of the dying because it can help us make a choice about how we're living now and how we want to live the rest of our lives and not have to look back and be sharing some of these very same regrets. The first week was the number one regret, which is I wish I had the courage to live a life that was true to myself rather than what people expected. And today we're looking at the second regret, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. You know, Jesus said he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. And most of the time we think abundantly, we think of more, having more, or, more time, more energy, more life, more years, eternal life. But it isn't just about quantity when Jesus said he came that we have life abundantly. I believe it's about quality. a sense of love, a sense of appreciation, a sense of meaning, a sense of depth, a sense of purpose, a sense of value. So this morning, we're going to look at how can balance create a greater role in us, not only not working too hard, but helping us create a greater sense of quality in all areas of our lives. One of the things that makes it challenging is that our culture really puts a lot of value. We get our self-worth and our sense of identity through the work that we do and achievement. I mean, big achievements, we feel good. We get great recognition. We get, people paying a lot of attention. But you notice what's interesting is in our culture, when you're not as productive, you become less valuable. And it's an unfortunate thing because it leaves us, constantly wanting to prove ourselves and to earn our sense of value to the point that we will work hard to compromise our own health, compromise our own well-being, even compromise our relationships because we want to feel valued and appreciated. I've got a friend, she's a doctor, hugely successful, one of the most giving, generous people in the world, will not let herself sleep in on her day off because she thinks she's wasting time and not being productive. She doesn't give herself permission to relax on her day off because she's so driven by this cult of productivity. How many people heard of Jerry Rice? I've mentioned this, the wide receiver, best receiver in the NFL in history. And one of the things he shared at it, and I've shared this before, God, it's so powerful, is this guy that was so, everybody would want to be Jerry Rice. But one of the things he shared in his Hall of Fame speech was that what drove him was fear. What drove him was not feeling good enough. And he worked hard, and while he had all those achievements, inside, he said he felt no joy because he was just doing it out of fear, desperation, and a place of unworthiness. We may have success on the outside, but the truth is, if we don't feel worthy, if we don't feel valued, if we don't feel deserving, then no amount of accomplishments can fulfill that empty space in us. So often we identify who we are with our job. That I am a doctor, I am a dentist, I am a this, I'm whatever we are, and it becomes who we are. It becomes our identity, and it's hard, like that guy, to let it go because we don't want to lose our identity or our value. But the truth is, we are more than our job. That you are more than that. I am more than my job. I am more than this. And sometimes we don't realize it, that our intrinsic value comes from within, not from without. That we are amazing spiritual beings. We're not just whatever title we are in our role. We are amazing children of God, and that never changes. And so what we need to do to really find a sense of balance and not work too hard is to reconnect with our wholeness and to reconnect with our sense of worthiness. Richard Rogers' favorite line in Scripture is, I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Half voice, let's say it. I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Can you just take a deep breath into that? And just know that you're enough. That you are enough. That you have incredible value. You are amazingly worthy, and you are well deserving. I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing together. I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Deep breath. I am enough together. I am enough. Deep breath. I am always enough together. I am always enough. Deep breath. I am worthy of love, happiness, and success no matter what. Together. I am worthy of love, happiness, and success no matter what. Deep breath. And final time, I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Together, I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Deep breath. And that is the truth that we need to operate from. Living and working from a place of fear and unworthiness will never fill that emptiness. But once we are filled, then the creativity and the joy actually gets better. It actually gets easier. For many years, because of my situation, I told myself I wasn't a man, I wasn't whole, I wasn't this. And most of my life, I've been working to prove. And the funny thing is, I realized I wasn't trying to prove it to other people. I was trying to prove it to myself that I was worthy and whole. So all these years later, first of all, I love what I do. And secondly, you get experience, you hopefully will get better as the years go. But the greatest thing about me enjoying my job, and I enjoy this more than anything I could even imagine, is because now I don't feel I have to prove my worthiness to myself anymore. And when we do that, it liberates us. Instead of creating from a place of emptiness, fear, and unworthiness, we create from a place of fullness and wholeness, and we get more creative. We get more joyful. We get more excited, and things tend to be more productive and more effective. And if they're not, you're not rocked by it, because sometimes things don't work out. And that's when we are whole, complete, and lacking in nothing, when we connect with our wholeness and worthiness, that even when we make mistakes, we can actually have compassion for ourselves and not beat ourselves up, and actually be supportive to learn from it so we can make better, conscious, and wiser choices for our career, for our lives, and our relationship. First thing to create balance and not have us have the regret of working too hard is to connect with our own self-worth, our wholeness, and our worthiness. Second thing is important is to connect with our passion and our purpose. I remember after my car accident, about a year later, I was taking a class. I was in a wheelchair in this lecture theater that fit about 700 people. It was Introduction to Political Science. The professor was Professor Maraj. I remember he was on that little platform, and he was just running around, bouncing around, happier than I'd ever seen somebody, and it's political science. And I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. And you remember, like, with Harry Met Sally, when that woman is having that meal at a place of high place of pleasure, and then the person next door says, I want to have what she's having. When I saw that guy express his passion at this lecture for Intro to Political Science, I thought, I want some of that. The next day, I signed up for a degree in political science. It took me 3 years to figure out my passion was not political science. It was not even close. But the fact is, what I wanted was to be on fire, to find the thing that lit me up like it lit him up. And I believe God has a plan and a purpose for every one of our lives. And part of our journey is to find our passion, to find what lights us up, to find what makes us feel engaged and fully alive, to find the thing that we would do if money had nothing to do with it. It is the thing that brings us joy, because that's the light that we are here most to shine. And one of the things we need to remember, it doesn't always have to be your job. We have this obsession that it doesn't have to be your job. It's important to love your job and do your job. I'll talk more of that in a second. But sometimes it could be a particular hobby. I read a book once, and it says you got to live your slash. So my brother Brian is a dean, a professor / poet. He loves poetry. You know, Rusty Farrakhan, he is a teacher. He teaches young kids, but he / teacher, singer, / director, / actor. You get a lot of slashes. I know people who are engineers / writers. I know people who are athletes / chefs. I even know a guy who wants to be minister / stand-up comedian. I just, So my question is, what is your slash? What is the thing that may not be your job that brings you joy, that makes you happy, that brings you fulfillment? Maybe it's cooking, maybe it's writing, maybe it's art, maybe it's working with animals, maybe it's working with children, maybe it's teaching. I don't know what it is, but I guarantee you, if you haven't found your purpose and it is not your job, look for your slash. Remember your slash. Because God has multiple gifts and talents that have been put within us, and we need to allow them to come forth and then give them life and give them greater expression. Another important thing for us to do is to realize that sometimes it takes a time to find your purpose and passion. You know, I started trying to figure it out, in my early 20s, and I didn't have a clue till I was 33. My brother Brian knew at 17 what he wanted to do. A professor, get his PhD. He went and did it all. Me, it took 33 years. It took me almost twice as long as him. But other people, Colonel Sanders was 66. Grandma Moses was 78. It's never too late, and you got to put the time and work in, and to know that it's worth the effort to keep pursuing your passion. Keep asking those questions. What brings me joy? What gets me excited? Keep paying attention and keep looking for the passion. And to me, the most important thing is, even if you haven't found your passion, put your spirit and your soul into everything you do. Because the more you put your soul and spirit into you do, and you're giving yourself fully, the quicker you are to find your true passion. Because when you give it all of your soul will attract more of what the purpose that you are here for. I mean, I don't know, it isn't just what we do, it's how we do it. That are you doing it with your spirit? Are you doing it with your joy? So the first thing we need to do to find balance and not have a regret that we work too much is to know that we're whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. And the second is to find your purpose and to find your passion. Pursue your purpose and passion. And the third one is to slow down. Slow down. It is amazing how fast-paced and how hectic things are. And sometimes, I got to tell you, it's kind of a rush to go fast and have a lot to do. But sometimes, if doing that too much will drain you at some point. And we'll end up missing out by going too fast. Sometimes we think slowing down, sometimes you're getting old and things aren't. No, sometimes slowing down. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes slowing down will have you feel more enriched. So a couple months ago, I went to a 3-day silent retreat with my sister Ariane, who came from Canada, to the Self-Realization Fellowship in Encinitas, 3-day silent retreat. Now, I knew we would do silent meditation. I love that. It was all silent. But my favorite thing that surprised me the most that I got out of was eating meals 3 times a day, I think 10 meals for 3.5 days, with 20 people in the room in silence. Have you ever eaten in silence for multiple days? I was amazed. You really taste the food. It was so delicious. I could feel the crunchiness of the fresh vegetables in my mouth. I had cream of wheat, which I haven't had since a kid, and it was so creamy, and I put extra butter on it. It was so good. And we did apple crisp, what my mom used to make, and I just love that. And to eat and not watch TV or be distracted or read, it is amazing slowing down how much more delicious the food was. And I'm a carnivore. It was vegetarian, so it was hard for me. And that's how good it was, is to just taste the food was such an experience. Sometimes slowing down is one of the most important things we could do. So where in your life is life calling you to slow down a bit? Sometimes even coming home to your loved one and looking them right in the eyes and not just rushing off, and just being present could be an amazing thing. Sometimes stopping outside and just looking around at nature for a moment and just drinking it in can be a beautiful thing. Sometimes just looking up at the sun and just feeling the warmth of the sun in your face is a beautiful thing. In November, don't do it now. But what ways are life calling you to slow down? You know, one of the most important things to slow down is we can slow down our calendars and activities and how we eat, but the most important thing to slow down is your mind. Our minds can race like crazy, like the Energizer Bunny, just keep going and going and going. Meditation is one of the most powerful ways to bring us peace, quietness, clarity, and that helps us actually be more present to the people in our lives, more present to life itself, more clarity, more conscious, more aware, and we open to more creativity, more inspiration by just quieting the mind. So are you willing to slow down a little bit? Are you willing to quiet your mind a bit? And are you willing to get a little clear on what your priorities are? The fact is, we can't do everything in life, but we can do something. So what are the things that are most important to you? With your time, how do you want to invest it? What will bring you the most joy? What activities? What individuals? And then that's the most important one. Every regret, I think, but this regret of working too hard, you know what the biggest regret of it is? We miss time with our loved ones. So who in your life needs a little bit more of your time and your attention? What relationships needs reconnecting or cultivating or deepening? What is the relationship that is, that is calling you to give it a little bit more time, a little bit more care? Because ultimately, that's the only thing that really matters at the end of life. At every funeral I've ever been to, it's always, the whole thing is how that person made them feel, how they felt loved or protected or supported. And that's ultimately what it comes down to in our lives, is how we make each other feel. And the only way to do that is to take time with each other. Remember the story of Mary and Martha in the Bible when Jesus visited Mary and Martha? Okay, Jesus visited Mary and Martha, and they were at the house. Martha's in the kitchen cooking. Mary's at Jesus' feet. Is a perfect story about balance. Martha's complaining, Jesus, I'm doing all the work. She's just sitting there and chatting with you. And Jesus said, Martha, you're distracted with a lot of things. He never said they're bad. He said, but Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away. It was the difference between doing and being, between talking and listening, between being in the head and being in the heart. That she was trying to say, Jesus was saying to Mary, if you got a guest in your house, it's more important to be present to them than to do things for them. And nothing wrong with doing things for people, but how present are we to ourselves? How present are we to our family, to our children, to the people in our lives? Because that's what our soul wants more than anything else, love and connection. Every one of us has regrets in some area of our lives. And I love this, the regrets of the dying, because it's a message to teach all of us how we can live in a greater way. Let's not have the regret that we worked too hard. Let's take time to connect with our wholeness and our worthiness and make decisions in a more conscious and clear way and healthier way. Let's take time to pursue our passion, to find what gets us excited. And then finally, let's take time to slow down, to actually savor the flavor and the taste of life, to truly deepen our enjoyment, because that's how you live life and live it more abundantly. It's by putting things into balance so you don't work too much and you end up living a life that you love, that you enjoy, and that you're glad you did. God bless you all.